basically, my message hasn't changed. I recognize your humanity, but I recognize all the Russians and the Chinese and the Ukrainians and the Yemenis and the Palestinians and the Germans and the French and the Spanish and the Ecuadorians and the Peruvians and the Colombians. Well done, by the way, Colombia. You've finally got a president who isn't in the pocket of United States of America businessmen, and maybe your people will start getting a fair shake. I love that. I think it's great.
In the current show, you've got a montage of war criminals, according to you, and a picture apparently of President Biden on the screen, and it says, "Just getting started." What's that all about?
President Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Well, he's fueling the fire in the Ukraine for a start. That is a huge crime. Why won't the United States of America encourage Zelinsky, or whatever his name is, the president, to negotiate and to explain why, when he stood on the platform of ratifying the Minsk agreements, which he did when he was elected by 73% of the Ukrainian population that was left able to vote, after that, somebody either whispered in his ear or he completely changed his mind about making peace in the Donbass and about solidifying the Minsk agreements and making peace with their Russian neighbors and obviating the need for this horrific, horrendous war that's killing.
You're blaming.
We don't know how many Ukrainians.
But you're blaming the party that got invaded. Come on, you've got it reversed.
That's you know, any war. When did it start? What you need to do is look at the history, and you can say, well, it started on this day. You could say it started in 2008. Okay, it's basic. This war is basically about the action and reaction of NATO pushing right up to the Russian border, which they promised they wouldn't do when Gorbachev negotiated the withdrawal of the USSR from the whole of Eastern Europe. He said, we will do this on one condition, that you don't come 1 inch closer to the Russian border than the eastern borders of Germany. And you lot, if I may include you in it as an American, agreed to that and said, sure.
Resume your rant, would you? Roger,
well,
honestly, I have to just...
I don't want to rant about anything.
Okay, but
we could have a quiet, gentle discussion about all this, and I would call upon lots of great Americans forward. Mearsheimer, John Mearsheimer, for instance. I don't know whether how much of his stuff you've read and watched.
Of course I read Walt and Mearsheimer. I read the book.
I'm not talking about the Walt Mearsheimer book. I'm talking about
yes.
everything that John Mearsheimer has said and done since 2004, which is going back, 18 years now. And he's been talking about the horrific danger of not standing by the American word in 1980.
I watched the famous Posner lecture at Yale, an hour address and an hour of Q&A that lays out this whole argument, okay? But still...
Then I don't have to tell you all this stuff, you know it already.
No, I do, but in the end...
Why doesn't the USA sue for peace now? Don't they care about Ukrainians?
But
why are they prolonging this war? It could be ended tomorrow. If Joe Biden stood up on his hind legs and said, let's put a stop to this, it would end tomorrow.
I don't know.
No
would it end with Putin taking the Donbass and everything he wants in eastern Ukraine? You have to criticize Putin before we move on.
What about the people who live in the Donbass?
I have relatives. I have relatives in the Donbass.
Listen, after the illegal USA-inspired coup in 2014 that put out the democratically elected government of the Ukraine, the Russians were completely clear about how they felt about that.
You're giving them a pass. I have to say it. I mean, if I don't call you out on this, I'd be disappointed later to watch the tape.
Do you know the tape is only going to be 4 minutes long when
I
it's
hope
on
this is
CNN.
in it.
You'd already told me that. So this is just us having a chat over a beer. I would suggest to you, Michael, that you go away and read a bit more and then try and figure out what the United States would do if the Chinese were putting nuclear-armed missiles into Mexico and Canada.
The Chinese are too busy encircling Taiwan as we speak. Okay?
They're not encircling Taiwan. Taiwan is part of China. And that's been absolutely accepted by the whole of the international community since 1948. And if you don't know that, you're not reading enough. Go and read about it.
Okay, did we solve anything here today?
No, well, yeah, we did. Well, I mean, no, we didn't.
I mean,
Because you're believing your propaganda, your side's propaganda.
You're defining it as
Taiwan,
propaganda.
you can't have a conversation about human rights, and you can't have a conversation about Taiwan without actually doing the reading.
Roger, if you're having a conversation about human rights, at the top of the list of offenders are the Chinese. Why is it always the Western world?
The top of your list.
Why is it
the
always
Chinese
the Western
didn't
world?
invade Iraq and kill 1 million people in 2003. In fact, as far as I can recall, hang on a minute, who have the Chinese invaded and murdered, slaughtered?
Their own.
Bollocks.
Okay.
That's absolute nonsense. Complete nonsense. You should go away and read, but read some proper.